Welcome to Chilling Chatroom, your virtual gateway to the most bone-chilling tales on the internet. Prepare to be gripped by fear as we delve into two spine-tingling stories that will leave you questioning what lurks in the darkness. My grandmother always told me old ghost stories. One of them was true. Hundreds of years ago in a small village, there lived a young boy. His mother was the village healer and told great stories. Every day, the boy asked his mother to tell him stories, and she would. She never told the same story twice, and seemed to have an infinite supply of them. The boy would listen, and he remembered all of her stories. When he had a daughter, he told her the stories. The boy, now a man, wanted these stories to be passed on through many generations. One day, fate frowned on the man. When he was teaching his daughter to collect mushrooms, they were approached by a bear. They had not seen the bear cub in the bushes next to them. The bear attacked, and swung its paws at the man. He dodged them, but the blows struck his daughter instead. She died at once, and the bear left. The man was distraught. He would not speak to anybody. He never told the story again. Many years later, he visited his mother at the healer. She was dying. His mother called her son closer. She whispered her last words in his ear. "Listen to the bones." With a final breath, she died. The man was once again stricken with grief. The man never spoke another word. He died silently and alone. My grandma used to tell me that story. It was my favorite. She's a lot like the mother in the story. She never runs out of stories. I loved them. Every weekend I would beg my dad to take me to see Grandma. Once I could drive, I went to see her whenever I could. She was my favorite person on the planet. So kind. She had that voice that always sounded like home. She loved ghost stories. That one wasn't the scariest she had either. They were old stories from the mythology of ancient civilizations. The Egyptians, Aztecs, Native Americans, you name it. It would be an understatement to say I was sad when she was dying. Instead of visiting her and telling stories, I sat beside her deathbed and cried. She would always tell me that I would see her again. I didn't believe her. The dead don't get back up. The hospital called me a few weeks after Thanksgiving to tell me my grandmother was circling the drain. My legs felt weak, but I didn't want to not say goodbye. I got to the hospital at the perfect yet worst time. She wasn't dead yet, but I could tell she was almost there when the nurse opened the door. I walked to her bedside. She looked at me and smiled. That smile. That same perfect, happy smile. It made me crack the slightest grin before I fell to my knees in tears. She tapped my head and beckoned me up. I stood up and put my face as close as I could to hers. She whispered something in my ear that I would never forget. "Always listen to the bones. Those in the forest are old and wise. Those by the sea only warned you once." She had barely said the last part of her sentence when she fell to the bed. I heard that dreaded electronic buzz. "No. Please. Wake up. Wake up," I yelled. I shook her, but she didn't open her eyes. I fell to the floor and cried. The tears were louder than any I had shed before. They were full of pain, full of sorrow and loss. They were tears of true despair. I started to believe my favorite story was a prophecy rather than a legend. It took me half a year to heal the wounds her death left. After countless hours of therapy, sobbing, and more therapy, I managed to get back on my feet. I got a new apartment, fixed my car, and even landed a new job. Fast food may not pay well, but it's all I need to buy food. I always loved to take walks. Any walks. Hiking through the woods, long walks along beaches, and climbing up mountains. I just need to stay active. It keeps me from dwelling on the past, and it's good exercise. I met my girlfriend on one such hike. I passed her while hiking up empty Greylock. I had hiked that mountain so often, I knew all the shortcuts. I even made a few myself. We walked up together, and sat at the top admiring the view. One thing led to another, and we had coffee the next weekend. We were walking along the beach about a month ago. It was a nice day. Cloudless, warm, perfect beach weather. But all good things must come to an end. I saw a fish skeleton sticking out of the sand. For the first time in a while, I broke down and cried. "Jack? Are you all right?" she asked. Sarah always had an instinct for comfort. I explained the ordeal. My grandma's death, and her last words. She gave me the warmest hug I had ever felt. She sat there and talked to me. But something wasn't right. Everything looked normal, but my brain sensed danger. I decided to ignore it for now. But that decision wouldn't last. Soon, it sounded like there were two voices. Sarah's voice, and that of a complete stranger. It spoke in a language I could not understand. It sounded like a warning. I felt like the beach belonged to the bones, and we were trespassing. "Let's keep moving. The car is a mile down." My voice shook while the words left my lips. I knew there was danger. We needed to leave now. The car was a mile past the bones. We could make it in 15 minutes. The sooner we could get out of here, the better. I felt uneasy when we stepped into the car. It was that sinking feeling you get in your gut when you know you're in trouble. The guilt and fear of punishment. I asked Sarah to drive, making up an excuse about my legs being too sore. When we got home, my instincts and emotions weren't improved. It's almost like my luck was sucked out of me. I almost dropped my keys into a drain trying to unlock the door. I tripped on a folded corner of carpet and hit my head on the glass coffee table, breaking the corner off. Sarah told me to lie down, folded the carpet back, and made me a cup of tea. She brought the tea over, but tripped and spilled the scalding water on my arm, burning my forearm. She apologized and asked if I was okay. "Yeah, I'm fine. A bit warmer than usual, but fine," I said, clutching my peeling arm. She went to get the first aid kit. As she left, I looked to see what she tripped on. It was the same corner of the carpet, folded back to the same shape that threw me at the table. As I thought about how this was possible, a half-thought formed in the back of my head. Bones by the sea. Bones by the sea. Grandma never had a chance to tell me why I should avoid them. This can't be too bad. Just a bit of lost luck, I muttered to the empty room. I could live with being unlucky. But I can't live with what happens over the next few weeks. I always woke up after nightmares in a cold sweat. They were always the same. People I loved burning and sinking into an unmarked grave, bones turning to ash before my eyes. I would wake up screaming, sweating, and sore. The soreness would never stay in one place. I could sleep on a sore finger and wake up with a headache. The nightmares got worse. The ash would form a human skeleton that was assembled wrong. Hands and feet swapped, headless, countless jumbles of bones that shouldn't exist. The only constant theme was the bones. It was like they were taunting me, reminding me of my mistake. After another week, I started seeing them. Shadows of inhuman figures staring at me in the corner of my eye, only to be cast by a tree upon closer inspection. At night they crowded the room, denying me the horrors that awaited me in my sleep only to give me worse terror in my waking hours. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was scared they would become solid, and dragged me into a dark abyss. At long last, it stopped. But only for a day. The nightmares, the shadows, all of it. In fact, so did sound. Nothing made any noise. My voice didn't even echo. Only one thing remained. My terror. Something was coming. Worse than any nightmare I had been forced to watch. One shadow remained. But it wasn't a shadow anymore. It had form. IR was solid. Every feature looked familiar, but I couldn't recognize anything. Some shapes looked like arms, but I couldn't tell if they were. Mouths were everywhere, but they couldn't be. Nothing was normal. I thought I was having a stroke. Every day, the creature got closer, always changing its position to be closer to me. It followed me wherever I went. I saw it on the roofs of passing cars, standing on lamp posts, in dark rooms, and under beds. I couldn't catch a break. Every second I wasn't moving, it was getting closer. The nightmares returned. They were no longer just nightmares. They were horrific fever dreams. Boots eating my legs when I put them on, a pile of bones killing grass around it, any jumble of things that made no sense. I woke up what I think was 3 days ago in another pool of sweat. I turned to Sarah for reassurance, but she wasn't there. The pain was near my stomach. I got up to go to the kitchen, but it wasn't there. Outside the bedroom, there was nothing but untamed forest. I started to panic. "What the hell?" I yelled. "This doesn't make sense. Where am I?" I continued to shout. I prayed for somebody to hear me, but nobody came. I yelled and cried until I passed out. My sleep was plagued with more fabricated trauma. The next time I woke up, the sharp pain had moved up slightly. I looked up at the sky, prepared to put my knowledge from Boy Scouts to use, and gauged the time by the sun's position. But the sun wasn't there. Instead, the sky was a glowing blood-red dome over whatever fresh hell I'm in. My instinctive need for food kicked in, and I started looking. But no matter where I looked, no plants were recognizable. I started to walk into the woods to search for water. After several hours, I found a river, illuminated red by the sky. I bent over to drink, but spat the liquid back out. It wasn't water. It was blood. I passed out again, either from thirst, my fear of blood, or both. When I woke up again, the pain had moved to my leg. When I tried standing up, I fell over again. The pain weren't cramps. The creature had been taking my bones. I'm writing this here as an SOS. If this reaches anybody, send help. I don't care how. The creature is closer than it's ever been. I'm hungry, thirsty, and have lost the bones in my legs. I just hope that if I die, I can see my grandmother again. But when I black out, the torment I see is me, being tortured by the creature. We've arranged to stay with my cousin Bruno in Venice, who's kindly offered to provide us with supplies and transportation to the island. Our journey begins at dawn, and as we set sail, I can't shake the feeling that we're embarking on our most chilling adventure yet. As the sun sets on our terrifying ordeal, I can't help but feel a sense of unease lingering in the air. The events of our time on the island weigh heavily on my mind, and I know that we've only scratched the surface of its dark mysteries. With Zach missing and Chris tormented by unseen forces, the team faces an uncertain future. But when I received a cryptic letter from Chris, hinting at the location of Zach's whereabouts, I knew that our journey was far from over. As we prepare to return to the island, I can't help but wonder what other horrors await us in its shadowy depths. One thing is certain, the island holds secrets that refuse to be buried. And as we steel ourselves for the next chapter in our chilling saga, I can't help but wonder if we'll ever escape the grasp of its malevolent influence. Stay tuned for the next installment of our chilling chat room, as we delve deeper into the darkness and confront the nightmares that await us. And remember, when it comes to the paranormal, the truth is often more terrifying than fiction. Signing off.